Hello, morning. It's Friday. You made it to the end of the week. I am Chris Gore from Film Threat. Hope you're having a great day today. We have a big show today. A lot of news, reviews of Morbius. It's out, and I may have a controversial opinion. Additionally, we have filmmaker interviews, the director and actress behind the indie horror film, The Yellow Wallpaper, and that's right, legend Lloyd Kaufman. Lloyd Kaufman from Troma Films will be here later today to talk to us, to talk to you in the chat. That's right. You can talk to Lloyd and the filmmakers behind the Yellow Wallpaper. So much to talk about. The new Fantastic Beasts movie, a little bit of news. Let's get this thing started. Ready, set, go. And we're back. Let's get started. Thank you for joining us here on a Friday morning. My name is Chris Gore from Film Threat. A lot going on today. Not just what we're talking about on the show, lots to talk about on the show, but additionally, I will be at WonderCon tonight, 5 p.m. I'm doing a panel about the documentary that has been in the works for the last couple of years about Attack of the Show called Attack of the Doc. If you are at WonderCon in Anaheim, California, join me on the panel at 5 p.m. I'll be there. And if you can't make that, you're busy, you got plans, meet us at the hotel bar. Alan Ng, my partner in crime and the editor-in-chief of Film Threat, he and I will both be going back. They're actually right next to each other, the Hilton and the Marriott. So if you're in Anaheim, we will be there for an impromptu Film Threat meetup. I may have some swag on me. So if you like, who doesn't like free stuff? If you like free stuff, join us there. So with that, let's bring Alan Ng on. Alan, how's it going today?
Good. Good. It's morning.
You try to be cool? All right. Oh my God. Cool.
I got to build that opener somehow. That one didn't work. So I'll try.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know what? We'll have plenty of time to practice a lot of other shows down the pike, but we do have a lot to talk about today. I want to launch right into it with a couple of things. One, I want to remind you all to share this video, like it, and definitely subscribe. In fact, here's your little reminder to subscribe. Oh, wow. And for every time we get 100 new subscribers, you're probably going to see me, one, get very excited, and two, oh, wow. So yes, please subscribe. We do appreciate it. We are on the road to, my goal is to get us to 100,000 before the end of the year. When will that happen? I don't know, but that's my goal.
We just want that plaque. That's the big thing.
Alan wants the plaque.
I want the plaque.
Alan wants the plaque.
We'll go in the back corner there.
Yeah. Fill up that space. But we appreciate you in the chat here. Let's say hi to everybody as we get started. Holy Hand Grenades is here. Patrick Lemire. Hey, Ferd Turgeson. Fletcher Williams. Hello. Tumbleweed. The Sound of One Man Laughing. David Lake. Hey, streaming now, but we'll listen later. Thank you. Kyle Schnur. Marcus Bismo. Thank you. Yes. Another thing. If you love this shirt, you can own this shirt. That's right. Support us and buy something at the Film Threat shop. Go to shop.filmthreat.com. You can get yourself, a fancy Film Threat Fight Club inspired mug. You can get this t-shirt that I'm wearing now that says Film Threat, the Indie Strike Back. Lots of cool stuff. That's one way to support us. Another way is also to slap that like button. Slap that like button, and definitely don't forget. Oh, wow. I can't. Okay.
That's my reaction every time someone subscribes. Oh, wow.
Yes, that's everyone. Phil Eubanks, actually, who is an editor and who's working on Attack of the Doc, actually mocked that up for me. He says he wanted to specifically see your reaction, Alan. So
I've tweeted it. I've reposted it.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
A little bit of heat for it, but hey, get a sense of humor, please.
Awesome. So cool. So let's get right into it with a couple of things. Before we get to our movie reviews, we're going to get to those really quick. I want to talk about a couple of topics. And if you don't follow me on my personal social media, I mean, we're Film Threat on everything. But if you want to follow me on my personal social media, I am that Chris Gore. And I posted something yesterday that got a little bit of attention. I want to share it here so you and I can talk about it.
Yeah, briefly. I think I saw this tweet this morning.
Yeah, but it's so real quick. It just says, question for documentary filmmakers. Whatever happened to an unbiased approach in pursuit of the truth wherever it leads? It seems that most political docs I see these days are pure propaganda, and I don't trust any of it on both sides. I tweeted that and got some reactions from a lot of people I know. Dan Mervish, yup, as others also said, funding is a big culprit. Filmmakers partner up with issue-driven nonprofits as fiscal sponsors. No incentive or financing or objective. Journalistic docs that follow a story rather than starting from a preconceived story. Over labification, not good too. So, I don't know. A lot of great comments in here. So, and then of course I posted some memes in response, because in some ways they're only memes. Oh, look, my friend Annie Cruz here said, bingo. Can you name a single unbiased documentary? Maybe. I mean, like, there have been a lot of documentaries about Trump, and one I would say is the most unbiased, is made by a British filmmaker, and it's called The Accidental President. And I thought that was a more fair depiction.
Didn't you interview like Nancy Pelosi's daughter about a documentary?
I did interview, Nancy Pelosi's daughter about a documentary she made, and it was it kind of takes place over 2020, and it's a crazy doc, and it's about the division in the country, and I thought it was actually very well done. So, but there's some really good comments here. I'm just pointing it out because I like to be. Nowadays, I don't care about Twitter, but now I'm just like, I'm just going to post maybe something provocative once a week. So if you care to jump into the conversation, please do. And I would appreciate that. Now let's get to a couple of other things that are going on. Alan, you saw some movies.
Yes, I did. Which do you want to talk about first?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, so much to discuss. Oh, let's get to some people who have some comments.
Yeah, we have some really good comments.
A couple comments. Tumbleweed, he who holds the heaviest bag sways the point of view. That's true. Yeah. Edison says, is this pre-recorded? Absolutely, this is pre-recorded. We've pre-recorded this, and you are watching us roll out live. So there you go. Patrick Lemire says, you kind of have to rely on an outsider to assess politics. That's why I think that this film made by a British filmmaker actually had a better take on American politics than any American documentary.
Yeah. I mean, during the Trump era, I always found it interesting to go and see what the news sites outside the United States were saying about the United States, and how the stories were very interesting and very different in their viewpoint.
Right. Willem says, is anything humans do unbiased? So there you go.
Answer no.
And Edison, this is pre-recorded.
Yes, it is.
100% is.
I mean, we're busy people. I mean, really.
Okay. And then Sound of One Man Laughing says, I enjoyed Alice the same way I enjoyed Old Henry at a theater that was empty except for me. So there you go. Great. Let's get right into it. I'm gonna talk about Morbius. Again, I have a controversial opinion, but I want to hear about the new Fantastic Beasts. Now, you're not, I guess.
Yeah, I can't do a formal review. Yeah, I can't do a formal review. I have to do a kind of social media reactions. That's what I'm allowed.
What's your reaction? And
my reaction is, I basically binged the first two movies starting 2 days ago to get here. I was not, I got through half of the first one several times and just couldn't get myself to finish it. And now, because I was seeing it, I forced myself to get through. And the reaction I have is, it takes a lot to get into it, but once I got into it, I was starting to have fun, and I really like the third one. The third one is definitely the best of the three, but I will have this caveat: if you're not a fan of the Fantastic Beasts series, forget it. You're not going to like this one. I talked to a critic afterwards, and he just hated it, and I think he just wasn't into the series. I did like this one. There were some interesting changes. I don't think it's a secret that Mads Mikkelsen takes over for Johnny Depp, right? And I believe because of COVID and scheduling that Catherine Waterston was not able to come back as Tina. And I think I found it interesting that they had replacements. Mads Mikkelsen is a great actor, and I think his acting really comes through, but they took away a lot of the oddities and eccentricities of Johnny Depp's version of Grindelwald, and just kind of said, "Look, Mads Mikkelsen, you're Grindelwald," and they really didn't give him anything other than just act great, which he did. And the person who replaced, she didn't replace Tina. They just brought in a new character, very, somewhat bland. And then the third thing I'll say is, what I appreciate about the Fantastic Beasts series, because we've had this discussion about every IP over the last several months, several weeks, is that this is J.K. Rowling's project. She's got her fingerprints all over this thing. And whether you like her or not, or whether you appreciate her writing style, it's a breath of fresh air to say that she told her story. And if you know what she's been going through politically lately, it's amazing that they allowed her to tell the story. And I think that's really refreshing in and of itself. I will say, Harry Potter was written for children, but accessible to adults. I think the Fantastic Beasts series is written for adults, but accessible to children, if that makes any sense. And I think that's what separates Fantastic Beasts from like Lord of the Rings. There's, I think there's a deeper message in Lord of the Rings, and there's there's some feel-good messages that happen in Fantastic Beasts, and I appreciate that, and I think that's why I'm buying into the series more than most people will.
Well, I'll tell you my take. My take is I don't care. I don't care. I thought that the Harry Potter story is amazing. I don't care about the prequels. I mean, it's incredible that they had, most of the actors through from the beginning to the end, right? Like, including the kids, the main kids. I mean, it's incredible. You saw them grow up, and it's funny to watch like the early films because it's like they look so cute. They look so cute, right? And then they grew up and didn't maybe turn out like maybe how you thought.
Yeah. But what's amazing is they only had to replace one character in that movie, and that was Dumbledore.
Yeah, true. But I love the Harry Potter movies, and I could not finish that first film. Something about it, I just don't care. It sort of lacks the sort of whimsy and magic for me. And it's called Fantastic Beasts, and it's not really about the beasts. And it just kind of lost me. So this is not my review. This is someone who like, I'm checked out and don't care. And so I'll look forward to your full review.
I can totally understand that, because again, it took me, I was forced to see the first one all the way through, but the attempts I've made before
at gunpoint.
Yeah, and then I will say it felt like that the first two movies was basically the backstory for this third one, and I really like this third one.
All right, so it's built up. So here you go. Patrick Lemire says JK is involved. That's great. I may just have to go to support. So there you go. And
it's definitely her story, and there's definitely some commentary. This relationship between Grindelwald and Dumbledore. I don't think it's any secret that they were involved way back in the past.
Marcus Bisma says, I like the first Fantastic Beasts. It's quite charming. The second one was a mess. Looking forward to this one. And Fred Turgeson, what's your favorite Depp performance that's not based on makeup? And we've got people. Look, I think here's the answer right here. It's Ed Wood, says Ken Bogus.
Is that a makeup performance?
No. Johnny was great in Ed Wood. I mean, he's sort of an enhanced version of himself, as kind of Johnny Depp always is, but his so-called canceling over the mess with his ex-wife is just sort of I don't know. One, I feel horrible for me that I know details about their marriage. I'd rather not know. I'd actually rather not know. But it's sad. It's sad what happened. So Patrick Lemire says Fantastic Beasts is the definition of light entertainment.
Absolutely. It does not have the depth that Lord of the Rings had.
And JC counters with Harry Potter is the definition of light entertainment. And Fletcher Williams says Alan was kidnapped to seeing the first, so by the third it must be Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, there could be some validity to that.
Yeah. And the Hawk 666 says, I never got into Fantastic Beasts. I don't care for it. And I'm with you. I never got into it. I did not care all that much.
I will say Dan Fogler. I mean, somehow he's become
him
star out of it. And we had a watch party with Dan, who came in late because he was filming something in England at the time.
I think he was filming that. So
yes,
there you go. but I don't want to waste any time. I want to get right to, because we have so much on the show today. There's a lot. Before we get to the Morbius review, just a quick reminder that it's the biggest night in indie film. It's our award this event. We've announced our nominees. It's on the Film Threat website. If you've been watching us and you love independent film, which I just assume that you all love independent film, then you are going to want to not only see the award show, you're also going to want to come to the event. You can actually come to award this. We announced our nominees, and what's great about this list of the nominees, I'm going to share screen for a second here so you can check this out. What's interesting about this is that this is like a list of indie movies you should check out. You know, if you like a particular category, right? If you like, say, indie horror or indie sci-fi, this is a list, and it's on filmthreat.com. Just look up award this, go to our news section. You'll see like music documentary, socially relevant documentary. There's indie horror, indie sci-fi, pop culture doc, right? Short films. What else here? Indie comedy, which of course we interviewed the director of Win a Trip to Browntown, and he's nominated in the category of indie comedy. Donnie's Bar Mitzvah, an incredibly politically incorrect comedy about a kid's bar mitzvah that has, I'll just say it out loud, purple dildos. Let's go on here. Just a lot of indie animation. The Spine of Night is on there. Indie action thriller. A lot of really fascinating indie films that are worth checking out. I'm going to post this in the chat right now so you can bookmark that and check it out. We just want you to discover independent films. So check out the list. You can click on our reviews and follow Award This on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and there's more info at awardthis.com. And tickets are going to go on sale in a couple of weeks. It's at the Frida Cinema in Santa Ana, California. We have 2 theaters, 400 seats. It is going to be, you're paying to go to a party, not just an award show. It's going to be awesome. Rub elbows with indie filmmakers, and the awards are actually presented by comedians and critics and actors. So it's basically just an excuse to have a party. I'm going to be honest. It's just an excuse for us to have a party. So check that out. Now, and Fletcher Williams says, but will there be violence? Let's just say if one of the comedians makes a joke and someone is offended, and that person from the audience gets up and goes to slap that comedian, I think that person would go to jail and be arrested. I think if there's any assault that takes place at Award This, we handle things very quickly. We don't put together a committee and wait 2 weeks to give a decision after the thing has blown over in the media. I think that's the way things are being handled. And I'll say, just on a quick note, that this whole Will Smith thing just seems to continue to escalate. Yesterday, and Paulie from the Latino Slant, who's in the chat, I got to say, Paulie, it was so much fun to hang out with you last night. We saw Morbius together. So Paulie, thank you for that. And Paulie was with us on our award show. I want to bring this up. He actually sent me, did he send it to me? No, Paulie, you didn't send it to me. I guess I'll have to look for it. But there's a 911 call to the LAPD about Will Smith. So the Academy, there's all sorts of new information has come up there, and there should be. You should slap all the Award This winners, says Mark Clement. Maybe not. I don't think slap, maybe in a friendly way.
Or we'll do it like in Airplane, where we'll just line people up.
Right. Line people up. That's how we'll do it. And we'll get to the Morbius review in a minute. So, but yeah, so several things happened. One, after what happened, Will Smith was asked to leave. He refused to leave. He was asked to leave by his publicist. There was like chatter behind the scenes, like what should they do? He was asked to leave. He said he didn't want to leave because he wanted an opportunity to apologize. The LAPD was contacted. Chris Rock also, of course, has said, I don't want to press charges. He's since mentioned it at a stand-up show recently. He talked about it. So this is an evolving story. I don't want to, I try to avoid gossip on the Film Threat YouTube channel. I'm really not into it, but this affects the Oscars. It affects the industry. I think it's important to talk about, but it's an evolving story that I think we're still going to be hearing about weeks from now, because there's going to be a decision. And the big decision is Will Smith kicked out of the Academy? Because traditionally what happens is the person who's nominated, who won for Best Actor the following year, Will Smith is going to be at the Oscars next year. Unless someone makes a different decision, Will Smith will be at the Oscars next year, and he will be presenting the award for Best Actress. I want to know your thoughts. People are fast and furious here. Ferg Turgeson says it affects comedy.
Yeah.
100% right. It affects. How are comedians going to feel? Already, most comedians have had an experience with a drunken, unruly person, a heckler. There's actually a good movie. I think it's called Heckle. Right? Isn't there?
Yeah.
But with Jamie Kennedy. But yeah, this is something that affects comedians, right? Felix Radler, it affects comedians too. And Gabriel, hey, Chris, Alan, and Chris, how you guys doing? We're doing great. We're talking about the Will Smith thing. So Benjamin Lacrone says now other people are saying if the Academy did not ask him to leave and in fact asked him to stay. There's confusion about that and different reports, but I do think this is important because it speaks to, you know, what's happening in the culture as things get just sort of things have escalated in a weird way. And now by not doing anything, they're condoning it. And I think and it shows just sort of a, the people in that room, there's some about in the pit of my stomach. I feel sick about what happened. Alan, do you have any thoughts in light of new information that's come out? And Paulie prayed for me. Maybe he texted me.
I think my feeling is that, in every other circumstance, this would have been the police would have gotten involved, security would have gotten involved, and we as a society has gotten to the point where, where violent acts or actual assaults and crimes are now being second guessed based on identity politics, basically, it used to be very simple. You hit someone, you get arrested. And I kind of wish we'd returned in some way to those days.
Yeah, well, funny, Ricky Gervais actually chimed in and said that, he wished he would not have made the joke that Chris Rock made. He actually would have made a joke about Jada's boyfriend. That was Ricky Gervais's comment. Yeah. So I don't know. And Fletcher Williams says, is there even comedy anymore? Here we are still talking about this. Mm-hmm. Chicago box, the world is broken. And Mike Diver, let's face it, Chris, you have better morals than most in Hollywood. I will say this, I've been around Hollywood people, and there's sometimes a very creepy feeling. It's weird. And I raised 2 kids in the Los Angeles area. And I will say that one of the things that I made sure to do was to keep them away from Hollywood creeps. It's weird. So, Gabriel, Ricky Gervais was on point as always. Yeah, it's weird, but this is the fact that we're still talking about this, and it's not even a week later, right? Are we going to be talking about this next week? Probably, because the Academy is going to render a decision, and they have to choose to do something. Mm-hmm. They have to say, and the decision might be that we're doing nothing about it,
which would be a shame. Absolutely. Yeah.
I feel like it sets a really dangerous precedent for this, that you ever see these videos like in other countries where their parliament, like they actually just start throwing stuff at each other and beating each other up, and it ends up being like a big rumble, and it's nuts. It's like, are we going to devolve into like a third world country where we just fight on the floor of the Senate, or it feels weird.
We're getting there.
I mean, it feels weird that this is like, it's not, I believe it's not okay. And then what's weird is you see people being attacked just for having an opinion, whether you're for Will Smith or against Will Smith, when you see, so having an opinion about this on social media has become a divisive thing, which is bizarre. So I don't know. It feels like I gave up on the Oscars. Not a moment too soon, says Ramina Jones. Yeah, I don't know. There's just something about it, just the weird hypocrisy in the room. And Ricky Gervais had another comment, just said, Hollywood people, you're weird. You're actors. You're weird. Just, can you act normal? And that's that was another thing. You can look up all this stuff, but I feel like there's just been so many news stories, and it'll be like one sentence that Ricky Gervais says, and it's an entire news story.
Yeah.
So I just gave you the roundup to the present. You can find on Twitter, you can actually find the LAPD 911 call where they're talking about Will Smith.
Do they know who made the call?
I don't know. Paulie from Latino Slant, which follow his channel, by the way, the Latino Slant. Paulie, post it in the chat, please, if you're still here. So, but let's get into it. I need to review a movie because you have been asking. So let's get into my review here of Morbius. We need to talk about Morbius.
Mm-hmm.
And famously, you've seen what other people say. The early buzz from critics, which we all trust the critics. Okay. The early buzz, it's a 16%. It's an 18% on Rotten Tomato from the critics. But that doesn't mean it's bad because the critics say so. Okay. I paid to see the movie at the AMC Burbank 16 in Burbank. Enjoyed a very amazing happy hour at Islands previously, which I strongly recommend. The happy hour at the Islands bar. And went with a group of people. We went to see Morbius, and I'm familiar with the comic. I have not read the comic. He's effectively has the powers of a vampire. That's pretty much what I know. I've seen a lot of I've seen a lot of Morbius art. I remember the covers of the comics, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm not so much into vampires, as a kid buying comics. So this is not a comic book for me. I prefer capes and tighties, guys wearing tights who can punch things. So not really familiar with Morbius, the comic book, or the lore or whatnot. So I'm going in cold, not knowing anything, and not having too much invested in it because I don't care if it strays too much from the comic because I never read it. All right. So I'm going in cold. But I really actually enjoyed Morbius. Is it a great movie? It is not a great movie. Is it a fun movie? Yes. First of all, thank you for having a running time that's under 2 hours. It's like an hour 40, hour 45, something like that. And let me just give you the highlights. Jared Leto is very good. He's very good. I mean, he has to walk with these walking sticks, and it's for the you actually get to see him as a child and how he struggled. And he had a best friend who ends up growing up to become Matt Smith, and the two of them are bonded because they each have an ailment that renders their legs useless. And he's also a doctor, and within this journey, of course, he ends up experimenting and gains the powers of a vampire, right? And ends up killing a bunch of people and feels terrible about it. And here's why I like Jared Leto's take on this performance. And the reason is that he feels remorse, right? He's imbued with these abilities, but he could also murder somebody. And it's something like, it's almost like, and I feel like they didn't really get the Hulk right in the Marvel films. They just didn't get the Hulk right. And the reason is this is like the Hulk can fly into a murderous rage and kill lots of people. And I feel like that Marvel kind of like dumbed that down or made it really comic book. It's like, oh, he's just mad. It's like, no, he can murder people, like literally with a punch, murder human beings or destroy a building, and that can collapse and kill hundreds of human beings. And I feel like in Morbius, Jared Leto's character cares more about the fact that, like, if I go into, my vampire state, I am going to kill somebody. I have to do everything I can to not do that, to not, not hurt the ones I love. I mean, which is sort of the reason why that, most of your superheroes have a secret identity is they don't want, harm to come to their loved ones. And I thought that's not really played up anymore. It's just like, oh yeah, they wear costumes. It's like, no, I'm trying to keep my identity secret because if someone finds out who I am, people I love could be hurt. And Morbius, it actually really leans into that. It leans into Jared Leto's remorse that he murdered people when he first gains these abilities. Additionally, he has to watch himself. He has to protect the ones he cares about, and even innocent people he doesn't know. He doesn't want to kill anyone with these abilities. Now it also makes it so he's able to walk again. And of course, Matt Smith, who's great in the movie, by the way. I mean, you see a turn. I like to see a character that changes. And it's also great that the first 30 minutes of the movie is really they're struggling with being kids who can't walk. And I thought that was, and then he bonds with Matt Smith. I thought the two of them really played well off of each other, and they become friends they're friends as adults. And it goes off the rails when they start to it starts to get, some of the action sequences are a bit confusing. Let's say they go into this sort of like hyper, like it's almost like you're seeing his state, and his state of mind is like this, like you know, being on some sort of drug. So he's experiencing the world in a very bizarre way, and they kind of show that with the action, and it kind of makes the action, some of the action sequences are a bit confusing. Having said that, what I also like, which I have not seen in a superhero movie in a long time, I feel like they just sort of go, and they have superpowers. Well, what are they? What are my limits? What can I do? What can I not do? How can I make sure that I don't hurt people with these powers? You know, I think that's interesting. So there's scenes where Morbius is kind of figuring out his abilities. You know, he can sort of not necessarily fly, but he kind of like goes on these like waves and whatnot, this sort of vibration that allows him to kind of swoop around like a bat. And it really works. I don't know. Like we walked out of the movie with a group of people who saw it, and everyone was like, why do people hate this movie? Why do people hate this? And to be clear, the people who do not like this movie are critics. Critics don't like this movie. And I think that we've learned, I don't know, my thing is going in and out of focus. I need to work on
you need backlighting. You need because your shirt is blending in with your background.
My shirt is blending in with I don't know what I'm doing here. But so I really, really enjoyed the whole, like, you see, there's a character arc. Oh, it's great. So I love all of those aspects. They actually take time to get you to like him, get invested in his story, and it's ultimately a tragedy. I will say this, there was a lot, this movie has been sitting on the shelf for like 2 years. And so my understanding is, what I have heard is that there were other things that were supposed to happen in this movie to connect it to Spider-Man. And can I just say, without giving anything away, they connected to Spider-Man very directly. More than just a scene where Dr. Morbius is reading a newspaper, and it's the Daily Bugle. Okay, so there's more than just that. So
like in Carnage.
Just let's just say,
okay.
stay to the very end. Stay to the very end. Some weird stuff happens, and I do believe it connects to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. This connects to it. 100% connects. I'm not going to say it sets it up. But it connects to the upcoming Doctor Strange movie. So no more I'm not giving spoilers, Fletcher. I'm not going to talk spoilers. I think it's, it's just opened. I mean, it opened last night. Don't want to talk spoilers, but I will say I had a good time. Is it a great movie? I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10, maybe a 6 or 7 out of 10. So it's not, not the greatest, but did I have fun? Yes. Did it explain or make me care about a Marvel character I didn't have any knowledge of? Yes. Did it show things we haven't seen in a superhero film in a while, which was like a friendly reminder, like, oh yeah, you kind of need to do that. You kind of need to like the character. You kind of need to, like, lean into, he should feel some remorse if it's possible that he could murder people. I feel like they never really did that with the Hulk. I mean, the Hulk is supposed to be Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and they kind of did that in the beginning and then just completely forgot about that aspect of the Hulk, right?
So the question then is, do you want to see a second one?
I would want to see, I don't know if I want to see a second Morbius movie. I feel like they built the character. I would like to see Morbius in another Marvel movie. Who knows? In a Spider-Man movie, for sure. I feel like it's interesting because he is sort of an anti-hero, right? Like he could be a villain, I mean, he gets into a murderous rage. So And Mike Diver would say, "Is it fair to say you are generally kind in your reviews, Chris?" No.
No.
No. How long have you been
No.
Mike Diver? Jesus. And look, am I kind? I'm giving it a 6 or a 7. So that would be 60%, 65% on Rotten Tomatoes would be my score, right? Which I still think is just like barely fresh, but it's not a 16 or 18%. You know, that's reserved for movies like the Josh Trank Fantastic Four, and Josh Trank really is not to blame for that, to be quite frank. But yeah, I'm not. I let's say I'm kinder probably to indie movies with regard to budget, because indie movies don't have the kind of budget that you know big studio productions have. But this surprised me. Oh, look, let's go to the comments here. Paulie from Latino Slant says 7 out of 10. Slant approved. See? There you go.
I will say a 6 from us is an approval.
Yeah. Fletcher Williams, no way. When he hates it, he hates it. Yeah. What did I hate recently?
Oh my gosh. Well, we talked about Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once. I hated that movie.
I love that
movie. By all accounts, I should have loved it, and I did not hate it. So Gabriel says, what do you think caused critics not to like the movie all that much? Lack of politics? I'll tell you exactly, Gabriel. Very good question. Why did critics not like this so much? And I'll tell you why. It's not Marvel. It's not Marvel enough. And that's why I liked it. Why I liked Morbius is that it didn't do what a Marvel movie does. Like, oh, quippy, funny. Haha, I'm the side character. I'm going to come in and say something goofy. There was none of that. This is a horror film. This is a superhero / horror movie. That's what this is. And I feel like critics, I don't know. I've never trusted critics. And I don't know, my opinions, because I care a lot about indie film and I love documentaries, although not the state of documentary film currently, but I tend to like things also for weird reasons. But yeah, I will say this. There's nothing woke in the movie, nothing woke whatsoever. There's like not at all, zero. And maybe that's why they didn't like it, but also it didn't have that kind of Marvel sense of fun. I mean, even Moon Knight that we talked about earlier this week sort of has those kind of Marvel-y things, like the security guard that's looking at pictures of otters on his phone. He's always doing that, and that's his character, and his one defining characteristic is that he looks at otters on his phone, and he's a security guard, and he says hi to Oscar Isaac. And that's what he's supposed to do. And that's Marvel.
Does it have a cool musical opening?
Look, I believe that the reason critics don't like it is it's not Marvel enough. It's its own thing. It's darker. Like I say, superhero horror. And
they like Blade. I don't know why,
Exactly. Well, but Blade is like, I mean, I don't know. There's a whole generation of Marvel fans that haven't seen Blade. But Marcus Bismuth says, I dislike most Sony superhero movies. This is the same studio who made Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's also the same studio that made No Way Home. Come on.
Yeah.
Give it some credit.
And Spider-Man.
Goober's Otters, you say? Ken Bogus, Otter Isaac. And Martin Sober says, so Morbius is kind of like Darkman. Funny you say that. Yes. In fact, Red Letter Media had a really good, analysis. I wouldn't say it's so much a review. They do these really great deep dives. It's like a mini documentary. So Red Letter Media, I mean, they don't need my help. Red Letter Media, they have like 1 million subscribers, but I have subscribed to them since they did that Phantom Menace review that was broken up in 10-minute segments. And it's like a 2-hour review. It's great. But yeah, in a way it is a little like Darkman. I would say it definitely follows that, sense of remorse, figuring out what the powers are, testing the limits, not always succeeding, having a moral center, just to see a character in a mainstream movie that has something of a moral center is refreshing. But yeah, it's a lot like Darkman. And God, I actually messaged the people from Red Letter Media because I happen to know Sam Raimi and the gang from back in the day. I grew up in Michigan. I was a kid, and Sam Raimi, Rob Tappert, Scott Spiegel, they had a company called Renaissance Pictures. They were in Ferndale. I grew up in Royal Oak, Michigan, and I befriended them. And in early print issues of Film Thread, I interviewed Sam Raimi many times because he was the one filmmaker I could get access to. So I know so much about Darkman and Evil Dead, and among other things. So I actually messaged the people from Red Letter Media who never respond to their Twitter messages. And I I told him a couple funny stories just because why not? So,
I will say, leading up to this,
mhm.
I in general, I don't like to know anything about a movie. I don't like to read the buzz about a movie because the
Right.
buzz behind this movie was really bad, and that definitely influenced me to not see it last night. But it's I want to know. I mean, how much does the media and the buzz coming out before a movie really affect the movie itself? I feel like we're supposed to hate Morbius because of the way people are talking.
And Latino says, no long musical intro. They jumped right into the story. And Tristan Barracks corrects me. Barracks says, no, they did not make No Way Home. Isn't it a co-production between Marvel Studios and Sony?
I think
so. Who made it?
Marvel Studios is technically the production company behind.
Yes, but we don't know. No one in the chat, no one here. We don't know the exact specifics of exactly who had the hand in the decision making. My feeling is it probably was a little 50-50 on that, with Marvel having some input and Sony having a lot. I mean, the fact that it's not like super overly woke or agenda driven tells me Sony probably had more influence than Marvel, because most of what Marvel has put out lately and what we see in the future is just all I mean, I don't really care much about Marvel now. I'm like, hey, yeah, and Fletcher Williams, Chris name dropping. All right, well, yes, I'm gonna, if I have a connection to something, yes, I knew Sam Raimi and those guys like back in the day. And even then, Sam Raimi, this is a thing that he does. He can never remember people's names. So if he meets you, he'll just say, hey, pal, hey, buddy. And apparently he's
good
still
to see you again.
Good to see you again, pal. Hey, pal. So he'll recognize you, but never remember your name. Yes, just from being around, look, I'm an old dude and I've been around. I know a lot of people from indie film. So Sam Raimi started as an indie filmmaker. You just making little indie movies. Darkman was the first big thing, right? So there you go. I'm gonna, if I actually know somebody and I'll tell a story. It's not like Sam Raimi's responding to my calls or whatnot. So
when you meet us tonight, and we say, "Hey, pal," just give us your name. And
yes, there you go.
Make it easy on us.
And then people are, look, Anatorius Vex says, I'll give it a 70-30 split with Sony dominant. Yeah, I think it's like we'll never know. But what is the result? No Way Home is a very satisfying experience.
Let's also remember that Spider-Man is a tentpole character, and that, that has to be treated differently than the minor characters that Marvel is bringing out right now.
And did you also get tight with the Coen brothers? I did not. I didn't. But I did become friends with, and still am, with Jeff Dowd, D-O-W-D. Jeff Dowd, you may or may not know, is he is what they call a film rep. And what Jeff Dowd does is he goes to film festivals or he'll seek out a movie and then help get them into a film festival. And what he does is he negotiates a distribution deal for the filmmakers to make sure they get paid. So he's what you call a producer's rep, right? So he reps the producers of the film to help them sell it. And Jeff Dowd, you may or may not know, and you can look this up, Jeff, D-O-W-D, is the basis for which the Coen brothers created the character The Dude, because everybody called Jeff Dowd The Dude. So I know the guy who The Dude is based on, but I'm not friends with the Coen brothers. I may have met him once or twice, like at a film festival, just from going to Sundance. So let's see. Mema Shuga says, I actually heard the violence in the movie was toned down too much, especially compared to darker Marvel stories like Jessica Jones. Again, just what I heard. Well, forget what you've heard. See for yourself, Mema Shuga. Go see for yourself. It was very violent. I think it's borderline R, but we checked, it's actually PG-13. But I would say that some of it, I mean, like, people get straight up murdered. There's a lot of blood in certain scenes. I mean, you would expect that there'd be blood. And Chicago Box says, the dude abides. The dude abides. So there you go. But yeah, I don't listen to the critics. How many times do you have to say, why do people react like, oh, the critics are giving it a bad score? The critics are giving it a great score. Never. I mean, look, if I've learned anything, and I think more than ever, we all need to remind ourselves, question everything, including critic scores. I tend to, when you look at the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, I tend to trust that more because, as long as it's not getting review bombed, right? I trust that score. That's what the general moviegoer thinks. And I think you're going to see Morbius when the audience score, it's going to be between 60 and 70.
Yeah, it's 64 right now.
It's 64. So look, 64. So what did I say? 65%? Like that was my guess. Like, okay, so when you see there's a clear divide between the critic score and the audience score, I tend to always go with the audience because I feel like I am a general audience goer when it comes to mainstream movies. I do tend to probably dislike more things than I like than most others like for various reasons. I know a lot of people liked Everything Everywhere All at Once. I did not. There are a lot of other movies that have come out recently that I really, really did not like. The Lost City with Sandra Bullock, didn't like it. No, I wanted to see the movie that was in the trailer, and we didn't get that. The movie that I saw was just slow moving and meh.
Sometimes I feel like Rotten Tomatoes, there's a peer pressure involved that you have to hate it if you want to maintain some kind of credibility.
There's a comment here. Oh, so someone says, Lua DCM 20, is The Northman going to be good? I'm tired of getting excited for movies and then being let down. I will let you know.
It really looks good.
I'm seeing it on Monday. So I'm seeing The Northman on Monday. We're doing a special edition of Hollywood on the Rocks on Wednesday, where we're going to talk about Sonic 2 and The Northman. So that's next Wednesday, and I think it's going to be at a later time. It might be at 10 p.m. on Wednesday. So because I have to go see Sonic.
Yeah, I'll try to see Sonic as well.
Yeah, so we're going to see Sonic. They're doing that fan screening. So we're going to review Wednesday night, probably 10 p.m. So it's going to be a late one, but you can watch the replay. We're going to talk about The Northman. And so I'm seeing it Monday, but they're saying I can't, because I'm being allowed into an early screening. I think it doesn't open for 3 weeks. Because I'm being allowed into an early screening, they're saying, well, only social media reactions. We'll talk about it next Wednesday. How about that? We'll talk about it on Wednesday. So Solomon Thornton, yeah, Sam Raimi said he wants to direct a Batman film. I would love to see that. And I strongly recommend the Darkman review that they did on the Red Letter Media channel. So holy hand grenades. The Northman looks absolutely badass.
Yeah, it's a good trailer. It's a good trailer,
but of late, I mean, here's the thing is, I mean, it's rare that we get a bad trailer, right? It's rare we get a trailer that's just completely awful. Okay. Trailers are supposed to do their job, which is make you want to see the movie. Okay. The Northman trailer, holy shit, incredible. And especially if you look at, I had cereal for breakfast before I came on. I know I gotta stop eating right before we go live. But his previous work, Robert Eggers, Between the Lighthouse, which is just straight up weird, or The Witch, which I strongly recommend that you see, which was 2015, and then Lighthouse came out, was it 2019? Any case, or 2020. Anyways, Lighthouse is just weird, almost partially a comedy in some senses. I cannot wait to see what he does with The Northman. Cannot wait. That cast is incredible. So we'll talk about The Northman next week. I'll be giving you an early review of that. So Sam Raimi should direct a Dark Justice League movie with Constantine, Swamp Thing, Zatanna, and the rest, says Spider Geronimo. That would be awesome. So there you go. Mike Diver, Northman poster has him in the background with strong women up front. That scares me. Have you seen the trailer? There might be strong female characters in the movie, but I'm pretty sure this movie's about the Northman. I think it's unfortunate that we become almost knee jerk to go like, we're not going to, they're going to sell us one thing and they're going to deliver something else. I don't know if it works in the movie, if it's a good film, great. But I don't know who's the lead in that film, and she's in that chess thing.
Oh yeah, Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, Anya Taylor-Joy. She looks like she would fall over if the wind blew. She's so tiny. I don't think she's going to be that strong. Maybe strong in spirit, but not physically. I mean, I'm getting like the Northman to me. I'm getting like like Conan the Barbarian vibes on that. So there you go. Max One Up is back and says The Lighthouse was an insane movie. I loved it. So yeah, and look, Infinite Main says even Eyes Wide Shut had a good trailer. Although, so Star Wars Terrier says, "Oh no, women on the poster. I'm scared." So yeah, I don't know. I really don't care about stuff like that. And I feel like, I feel like what I care about is tell a good story. Tell a good story, and I think that what's been lost is subtext. I feel like subtext has really been lost. But Morbius, the audience rating, which Alan just told us, is at 64%. I think that's a much more accurate representation than the, what is it, 16%?
15.
15. So it's 15% critics rating. No, it's not. Look, there's no there's nothing in there. There's no agenda other than entertain and tell a superhero horror story. So there you go.
I bet if you wrote the review, you could bump it up to 16.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't really write reviews so much anymore. I'm pretty much doing
that's
YouTube.
our job.
Yeah. So there you go. Turo says it's interesting that Sonic having been reworked due to strong fan reaction starred Jim Carrey, who recently pointed out good takes on Hollywood that he previously probably wouldn't have made. Yeah, I saw Jim Carrey, and I believe, first of all, I don't watch these shows. I end up just watching the clips that surface on social media or on YouTube. But Jim Carrey, I believe, did an interview on Good Morning America, and he talked about the Oscars situation and how horrendous it was. Richard Dreyfuss was actually on Megyn Kelly's podcast. I just saw the clip where Richard Dreyfuss actually talks about, just he's kind of embarrassed for the Academy, and that like that happened and this was allowed to happen on live TV, and
nothing's been decided about it yet.
Nothing's been decided about it, and they're gonna wait weeks to render a decision when 9 other things are going to grab our attention. 9 other things are going to grab.
That's why they're waiting. That's absolutely why they're waiting.
No, they're waiting for it to blow over and then make a decision, and by that point, no one will have cared. But so much seems to come out every day, and there you go. Lordy says, and I wouldn't disagree with this, Morbius is Venom, but not funny. But I would argue, Lordy, was Venom really funny? I don't think Venom was that funny. I think it tried to be funny.
It's quirky.
It was quirky, but I don't think it was. I didn't think Venom was funny. I thought Venom, for me, was kind of like irritating. But yeah, there's no quippy humor in it. It's dark and serious, and I don't understand why you can't do something like that. Infinite Main audience scores are greater than the critics. Agree. And you know how you can tell? Here's a even better gauge of an audience score: the box office.
Mm-hmm.
Before Rotten Tomatoes, the way people voted if they liked a film was if they paid to see it. And I do think that it's a much more honest reaction. My preference is actually to see a movie in a theater with people who paid, because they're not gonna. This is a critic screening. I'll let you know if I like it.
Yeah, that was my Fantastic Beasts.
Let you know if I like it. Was that your screening?
Yeah, just yeah.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people did not like that movie.
Yeah. So, and here you go. Gabriel says our decision is to fine Will Smith for $10. That can happen. So,
that's a slap on the wrist. Yeah.
Let's see. Doesn't Morbius call himself Venom at one point? Says holy hand grenades. I don't know, although I did go to the bathroom once. So it's possible that happened and I missed it. So, and Guy DeBoard says, has anyone read Jim Carrey's novel, Memoirs and Misinformation? I have not read that and was not even aware that he wrote a novel and or paid someone to write it for him, because that's pretty much how they do it in Hollywood. I have a friend who has a company. And her company will write your book for you. And it's funny, her name is Anna David, and I used to work with her at G4 on Attack of the Show, and that's Anna David. What she's done, she's written several books. one that's actually being developed, I think, into an HBO series, HBO Max.
Party Girl, I think.
Party Girl. And Anna David has a company where what she does is she will, if you want to write a book, she will connect you with a writer. They interview you for like 3-4 days, and then sort of you churn out a book. It's like in your words, right? But it's sort of structured and put together. So if anyone wants someone to write a book for them, it's not cheap either. I think it's like, it's tens of thousands of dollars to do this. But if you want your story on paper, she'll do that. So Cody Gidley says Jim's novel is so good. All right. Was not aware of it. That sound. And Gabriel says, who hasn't written a novel nowadays though? And also made a music album.
Or have a podcast.
Or a podcast. Like everybody has a podcast now, right? Isn't that what you do, how you do it? And here you go. Morbius, worth the money of the average earner. I would, well, here's what I will say to that. The Grandtron. Here's what I will say on that. I have the AMC A-list, which if you have an AMC near you, I don't work for them, but I'm not getting, I just,
they should pay us. They honestly should pay us.
It's $25 a month and you get to see 3 movies a week. So for $25, I minimally will probably see 5 or 6 movies. So I pay $5 a movie. That's the way I see it. Plus you get discounts when you book your tickets, and you get discounts when you book other tickets. You also get discounts when you get a regular popcorn. They automatically upgrade you to a large, and then I get a refill and I give it to someone like Paulie at the Latino Slant. So I basically get 2 large boxes of popcorn for the price of one, like $9.
And the rewards program is pretty generous as well.
Yeah. So my suggestion to you is get your A-list, and just, if you go to the movies every week, you get your money's worth. You're paying $5 or less per movie. I mean, God, if you go 3 times a week, like you're able to do, you're basically paying, what, like, I don't know, $2 a movie, basically.
Yeah. Plus you get access to the Prime, the IMAX, all the 3D stuff.
Yeah. That's the thing.
No upcharges. No upcharges.
Yeah. No upcharges. If you see a 3D or an IMAX movie, which, normally you go to buy a ticket to an IMAX movie, it's more money. It's not. When you have A-list, it's just part of your A-list plan. So I would say average earner, maybe not, but if you've got A-list, I think it's worth it. So there you go.
They totally need to be paying us for this.
Cool. And then Holy Hand Grenades. I wonder if my local cinema has such a deal. I don't know.
Yeah, Regal does. Regal
has
a
similar deal. Here we go. The Vasic says A-list is the best deal ever. This includes Dolby Cinema and IMAX. And Gabriel says, man, 200 plus watching. It wasn't like that this last Friday. I think Sunday has been good to you guys. Yes, we appreciate you all watching live. Over 200 people watching live. We usually get like several thousand views now on our live streams. So we thank you for that. And we appreciate it. In fact, if you are new to the channel, please like this video, slap that like button, subscribe to the channel.
Oh, wow.
That's right. Don't forget.
Oh, wow is right.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Film Threat YouTube channel. We do live streams at least twice a week. We do it for special events like the Oscars, or if we're covering South by Southwest or Sundance or Film Festival, or if there's a big movie like The Batman. We have Hollywood on the Rocks, which is Wednesday nights, and then our regular Film Threat live cast, which is Friday mornings at 9 a.m., which includes conversations with independent filmmakers. And I need to set this up real quick. There is an indie film that I saw recently that I thought was amazing. It's called the Yellow. Wait a sec. This is incorrect. I have to correct this, Alan. There's a mistake.
I did
here.
write it.
I'm very embarrassed about this. Let's get this right. The Yellow Wallpaper is a movie that recently played the CineQuest Film Festival. It is an independent film that it boggles my mind that something so powerful as this was made on an independent film budget. It's a Victorian era horror film that is dark, haunting. The sound design is spectacular. It's the story of a Victorian era marriage where there are problems, and these problems develop and evolve, and a woman who is torn with evil thoughts the thing that really drew me to this movie is just how much it captivated my attention. It is co-written by Alexandra Loreth and Kevin Pontuti, who Kevin is also the director. Alexandra is the lead actress. Let's just welcome them onto the show. I'm going to stop gushing. I'm just going to stop gushing and just say, welcome to the Film Threat podcast. Kevin and Alexandra, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for watching the Yellow Wallpaper and for everything that you just said about it. We were over here like, oh my gosh.
Well, it's one of those things. First of all, I love independent horror, right? Like independent horror, indie horror, you really get to explore a lot of interesting things. I've not seen one like this. It's not your traditional, like, look, it's not a slasher film. This is a Victorian, and it doesn't start out like a horror film. It starts out like this very traditional, almost is like, is this going to be a romance? Is this like a Jane Austen kind of thing in the setting? I'm blown away because most indie filmmakers would not attempt to make a period piece. That's already difficult. But then how did you pull this? How'd you pull all this together to make a period piece, such an effective one? And then horror. This horror is so rooted in there's sort of David Lynch, I feel like, sort of dreamlike influences. Additionally, just the sound design. Bravo on the sound design. I'm going to be asking you questions. My colleague Alaning, the editor-in-chief, will also be asking questions. We're going to have questions in the chat, so look up the trailer for this movie. But what like inspired you, and how did you put the project together?
Go for it.
Well, so Alexandra and I, we're a couple, and we work together quite a bit. And she brought me this story one point. This is something that we had both read when we were in college, I believe. It's probably different times, but it was something that had really stuck with us. And I had kind of forgotten about it a little bit. And Alexandra, it's always been one of her favorite stories. And one day she basically kind of locked me in my office and said, don't come out until you read this. And
I'm like, it's 17 pages. Out the door.
And and then I kind of came out and I think I said like, oh my God, like we've got to do this. This is just like, it's so relevant. The themes are so contemporary, women's mental health, just all this kind of stuff just made it seem super relevant. And that started kind of the train going there with the idea and the wanting to do it.
Yeah, it's oh my God, I just felt like you're right, like it's so relevant now. Like it's just mental illness spiraling into madness and horror. And really, if you've ever been in the grips of depression, and a lot of people have been through it at some point in their lives, I think we all brush with depression. It's a form of madness, and it's horrific to have to live that on a daily basis. How did you find like all the production value, I think, really impressed me. So how did you create a Victorian era on an indie budget?
It's a good question.
The great thing about the story, and we knew this kind of going in, that we were looking for something that we could do and make really look good, on a limited budget. The thing we noticed about Yellow Wallpaper is like it's one house, 80% of the movies in one room. It's 4 maybe characters, and so so the scale of it was something that was pretty attractive from the beginning. So we're like, okay, we know we need to kind of take this short story and expand it out into a feature, but so it allowed us to really focus on like one location. And then we, our collaborators in Ireland, Emerald Giant Productions, they found this great old convent that we were able to, and it had been kind of turned into a event center. So part of it was renovated, but other parts of it were just really raw, and really just kind of gave us the freedom to do whatever we needed to do and build that room inside that space. So we had great production designers working with us. Peter Galante, who did the wallpaper, was just, that was a lot of fun. And but really kind of honing in on being able to do something that was kind of concise in terms of like the size and the number of characters made like a really big deal.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was.
I was just going. Yeah.
real quick, the teaser poster is so great. We posted it on our Instagram. So just want to let you know that real quick. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, like creating this film on an indie budget, like I think calling it an indie budget is generous. But, we really couldn't have done it without our collaborators, and they kind of mentioned that. But like you said, like the set design, the locations, the sound design, the score, like all great friends of ours, and like the collaboration process was huge for us.
Wow.
We had a great DP. Sonia Tippin was just, I mean, it really allowed us to kind of hone in on the parts that really looked so amazing. And it was just, I mean, just all came together. It was really a great team effort.
Well, we've got a bunch of questions in the chat. If you don't mind talking to our chat people in the chat here. Chicago Box says, "Is it available to watch on demand?"
Yes, it's on Amazon Prime, Google Play,
Microsoft TV,
iTunes.
DirecTV, Vudu, iTunes.
Just came out this week, so it's this weekend, perfect timing.
Perfect timing. And the film philosopher, watching the trailer, babies are horrific. So Gabriel says that sounds pretty fantastic already. So, and then Adam Gray, this is interesting, says one of my favorite short stories for sure. So that's awesome. And some other comments here. Sounds like my autobiography, film philosopher. William says, welcome. Here's Bronson says, hello, Kevin and Alexandra. And there you go. People just saying welcome and hello. So, and Anarchitty83 says, ooh, that sounds very interesting. Can't wait to check it out. Yeah, I didn't know it was available this week. So that timing is perfect. I love, oh, here we go. Yellow Moth says, should my pregnant wife watch it? Oh, no.
No comment.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I think it's borderline. Like it's dark, but like dark in a way that, like, I always say to me that the films that really intrigue me and really interest me in terms of like, I want to talk to the filmmakers when you get tone right. I feel like tone is so important. And that to me is the mark of a film that should be distinguished. And you hit the tone on this, and a lot of that has to do with not only Alexandra's performance, she's fantastic in the film, but also the just the setting and the way that, like, I know you say the production, it looked great to me. It looked like it's like, okay, like this is that Victorian era, right? People are very proper. They, eat dinner at certain times of the day exactly, and in full, like, formal wear, all of that stuff. You got all those details, great, but that sound, like, is, I mean, Eraserhead has like amazing sound design. This sort of has that where actually the sound works on you psychologically. I feel like I'm guessing that was intended to have that kind of effect.
Yeah, that was exactly what we were going for. And it's funny because, we really had to grapple between, okay, do we give it the classical music or do we go with something more modern? We were actually inspired by a lot of like 70s electronics. So I call it modern, but it was just something different. And we kind of had to fight for the music that we ended up using. And I'm so glad we did, because I think for the two of us, that's one of our favorite parts of the film. And that's, I mean, like you said, that's something that a lot of people bring up after watching it. So we love it.
Here's a comment here. Looks great. I'll let my wife think it's something like Downton Abbey. No, Patrick Lemire, she's gonna be very disappointed. She's gonna be very disappointed and probably angry at you. But this is really a remarkable horror film. I mean, I put in that only because it's like, I wouldn't necessarily, it's not fully rooted in horror. I mean, there's aspects of it that are body horror, I would say, which is a type of horror like Cronenberg really has leaned into that, and I love that just because it's just so horrific. So Solomon Thornton has a question for you. Says, would you guys ever consider doing an H.P. Lovecraft film?
It's interesting. We actually screened the Yellow Wallpaper at the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival, and that was really cool and awesome to see that a lot of like H.P. Lovecraft fans ended up really appreciating the Yellow Wallpaper. I personally would say that I'm done with adaptations.
You never know. You never know. We'll see.
Yeah. Cool.
I'm curious why. What was it about this experience that was challenging to do an adaptation?
I think that there was a lot of, there was just a lot of pressure to take on such a well-respected text that it's taught in high schools and college English programs. And so there was this kind of balance of really thinking about like, well, how far do we go away from it? How much can we add? So it just seemed it's the first time I'd adapted anything. So we had, and it was, I don't know. It was really interesting. Might do it again, but we're excited to kind of work on some new original stuff too. So that's, it's just, I felt there was like a weight there that we had to kind of navigate. But it was great. Yeah.
Other comments here. Guy DeBoard says, I see it was released on March 29th. That was my birthday.
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
There you go. Mike Diver says, takes a lot of balls not to have a horror type title, shows confidence in the finished product. That's great. And then a question here from Luad DCM 20. Can you talk more about the pros and obvious cons of working with a very limited budget? I've heard time and time again that limitations spark creativity. Good question.
Yeah, great question. This is something we were actually just talking about yesterday. And I think for us, having a limited budget and having like a really solid idea of what we wanted in our minds, there came a point when we were like, we have to make compromises and we have to move forward with those compromises and be okay with them. And compromise is not like a bad word in this sense, because I guess like this comment says, like it really did spark creativity, and we had to decide if we can't do it this way, how else are we going to do it? And sometimes we were making those decisions on the fly. But I do think it sparks creativity. Obviously, like I don't think there's a film budget that's ever big enough, right? Like if we had more, we would just want more and we would want more. So I think it sparks creativity, and it also sparks this idea of like asking for help and collaborating, like I kind of mentioned before. So, it's like pros and cons, I guess. Yeah.
And I think it also, we had a lot less people to answer to, it wasn't like, we definitely had people that were, contributors, and, we definitely had to, think about the team but what do they say? Something, with more money comes more problems. So, I think we could have used a little more money, but I don't know. It worked out. We're really super happy with the film, and the creativity was found in so many different ways. It was great.
Another question here from Patrick Lemire. Did you folks get this shot before COVID or during?
The summer before. We got it. We shot it, and then we kind of holed up and did the post through COVID, and which had its own kind of challenges. But we were really lucky and really fortunate to get it shot when we did, and it was like, I don't know, it must have been it was in June and July that year, and then COVID hit in February. So
yeah, and we shot it internationally, so it probably would have never. There's a good chance it would have never been made if we had waited an extra year, an extra 6 months. Yeah.
The film philosopher asks, how long was the shoot?
The shoot was 15 days. We had about 3 weeks over there to prep, or some of us did. And it was quick. It was 15 days.
Great. Another question here from Piers Bronson said, did you watch other adaptations to see what works or doesn't work? Or did you avoid that approach? I was really impressed with, you say it was small. The scale looked bigger than a lot of indie films that I see. So you certainly used, and I think that a lot of people, I think the two things that really, improve a film are, one, casting, and Alexandra's fantastic in the movie. And then the other thing is the setting, the location. So cast and location, you really the location really helped the film. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, I think that the location was, finding that was such a score, and that really, gave us the opportunity to, have a lot of different looks, so that we had the grounds there, we had this, this room we had built, and but it really was, I think we used 3 or 4 internal rooms of this place, and then multiple kind of sets of gardens and the different kind of spots. But again, I keep going back to the cinematography because, we were able to kind of make the same places look bigger through different kinds of lighting and through different kinds of treatments. And so one of the conversations we had with Sonia was that, she's like, look, we're going to be in this yellow wallpaper room for 70% of the film. It can't look the same all the time. And so that lighting combined with the set, the room, I think, and just a lot of creative use of lenses, use of diffusion, all those things, I think really added up. And obviously the cast was amazing. Like, everybody, we were really able to, and I think bringing that all together, I think it was really fun having the Irish actors, with Lexi and finding a way to kind of bring their what's it called, the tone of their, the way they speak, into something that was it was homogenous, right? The Irish actors had to tweak it a little more American, and Lexi had to move a little this way, and that was pretty interesting to kind of watch how that came together.
And question here, people are asking what cameras were used. And
we shot with a Arri Alexa Mini.
Oh wow, okay, that's cool. And then God, so many, I can't keep up with the comments here. The Film Philosopher says, I will buy it to support. So that's great. Just watch Fletcher Williams, just watch the trailer. Amazing production value, great cinematography and music. So, and then a question here, Star Wars Terrier says, would you like to be hired to make a Star Wars movie and get fired for being too creative and original?
Sign me up.
Get fired.
We're just saying yes to everything.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Well, so, and is it, Mike Diver says, is it weird being interviewed about things you did 2 or more years ago? Everybody second guesses themselves. So
I don't know. I feel like, we shot it 3 years ago. Almost, right? It's coming up on 3 years since we shot it, but the post took a while. We did most of the post ourselves, and because we were kind of isolated, it was kind of hard to work with our sound designer who's in Wisconsin. We're in California. Our composer was in Oregon, so that process working remotely. So I don't know. It feels like we just kind of finished.
Great. And then another thing is, and this is also kind of a warning. The movie does have, it's very raw. There are nude scenes in the film. And I will say that, like, I once did a panel about how do you shoot nude scenes, to answer 2 questions. One, literally, how do you shoot them? What are the logistics of it so that everyone feels respected and safe and whatnot? But additionally, acting is really being emotionally naked in a sense, right? Getting to that place. And there, Lexi, in the film, you go to some dark places in this film. So can you address some of that, like how you were comfortable? Obviously you're being directed by your partners, so there's a trust there. But can you talk a little bit about what went into that?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if I could have done it with anyone else, honestly. There is a huge amount of trust there and just comfortability levels, but like you said, almost all of us have dealt with like mental health issues in the past. I've dealt with depression and anxiety. And then it's kind of funny, but kind of not, but creating this film, and especially like getting on set and switching from writer producer role into an acting role, it was some of the highest anxiety levels of my life, like not kidding. So that worked in my favor a little bit, which, like I said, kind of funny, kind of not. But I think with that anxiety that I already was actually going through, and my like personal past experiences, I was able to just like portray. I feel like when I watch the movie, I'm like, I'm portraying this exactly how I feel it, which I guess, you know, maybe some people don't really consider acting, but it was intense. It was intense, but I'm really glad to have been able to have the space to do it. And I really appreciate everyone who, you know, watches it and feels something from it, you know.
And then people keep asking, how can we watch it? Fletcher Williams. It is on video on demand on Amazon Prime. It's on. Is it on iTunes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's on all the video on demand platforms. So check it out. The Yellow Wallpaper, and Luke James sends a $1.79 super chat in and says boop. So that's where we'll leave it. Kevin, Alexandra, thank you so much for joining us on the Film Threat podcast. Congratulations on your film. I'm really looking forward to what you do next. This is truly something special, and thank you for joining us this morning on the Film Threat podcast. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Great. Take care. Talk to you soon. Later. Bye. That was great. That was awesome. Yeah. I love talking to indie filmmakers. Part of the reason, my reason for bringing indie filmmakers on here, and this is directed at everyone, you in the chat right now, our reason for doing this is we want you to be inspired. I want you to meet indie filmmakers. They're just regular people who are incredibly passionate, like Kevin and Alexandria are. They set forth to make their movie. So I don't know. I think we should all be inspired.
Yeah.
And I think it's really, sorry, you were going to say.
Yeah, I found it telling that they cared about how they adapted the story, that they were true to the original tale. And that's something that they wrestled with, because they knew they couldn't do it completely and stay true to it, which is very telling to the discussions we've been having over the last several weeks.
Now let's talk about, look, if you're a young filmmaker and you want to be inspired, let's talk about some people for a minute. Let's talk about someone like a James Gunn, who began his career at Troma Films. James Gunn worked at Troma, and he worked on movies like Tromeo and Juliet. He made his bones working for Lloyd Kaufman, if you don't know, and his company Troma Films. Lloyd Kaufman is an indie film legend. One of the franchises that Troma has is the Toxic Avenger, and the Toxic Avenger is now being made into a big budget movie from Legendary Pictures, starring Peter Dinklage as the Toxic Avenger.
Oh wow!
It's coming out. So and Troma, and Lloyd will correct me if I'm wrong, Troma Films is the longest existing independent film company, I believe. Correct me if I am wrong, and Lloyd will definitely do that. Lloyd is gonna be joining us on the show any minute now. But I just want to say, like, I've interviewed Lloyd many times. He is very passionate about political issues. If you watch films like Poultrygeist, there's a message in it, but the message is not delivered in a way where the agenda is right there on the surface on the top. It's kind of a message about fast food, but it's a straight up horror movie that you can just ignore whatever. I look, all movies have some form of messaging or themes, but I think the way that those messages and themes are being delivered in most Hollywood movies today are kind of irritating, because there is no subtext. It's like, here's our message right now, we're just going to say it out loud. That's not how it works. That's not how you win hearts and minds. And Lloyd, for me, has been a hero, just, not only because of the types of movies he chooses to champion, like movies like The Greasy Strangler, in addition to, so many actors got their start actually at Troma. You will be surprised to hear, Kevin Costner, among others. But Lloyd Kaufman is going to be joining us on the podcast shortly. Is he here? No, Lloyd's not. He's not here yet. That's great. He'll be joining us momentarily. But I see
Lloyd. He's
Lloyd. He's getting ready. Probably a last minute trip to the. I could use a last minute trip to the bathroom and refill on my drink here. But I want to thank you, everyone in the chat. You are part of the show. And before Lloyd joins us, so there you go. We got Anarch Kitty 83. The messages and themes are great if they're organic and they don't beat you over the head with it.
Absolutely. We do have a super chat. I don't know if you want to get to that.
100% agree. And look, hey, Kevin Pontuti is here. He says, thanks, everyone. Kevin is in the chat coming back to say thank you. And that's awesome. The Chicago box with a $1.99 super chat says, small engine repair, small budget, and good on Hulu. Okay.
Yeah, John Bernthal is really good in this one.
Yeah, cool. And Guy DeBoard says Hollywood might as well skip the film process and simply give bullet points on a PowerPoint slide dictating what we're supposed to believe. It feels like that sometimes. It feels so on the nose and so overt in the agenda that I don't want that. Maybe that's why I'm, liking something like a Morbius. I mean, and I'm not over the moon loving it like the film RRR, which I'm seeing again this weekend. The Indian movie RRR is still playing in theaters, and I will be seeing it again this weekend. So Rob M says, I know people working on the new Toxie. Ooh, that's good. Fletcher Williams says, I remember when messages were subtle. So, and Patrick Lemire says, Scorsese always said you have to smuggle your ideas in, otherwise it doesn't work. So there you go. Let's welcome Lloyd Kaufman onto the Film Threat podcast. Lloyd is here. Lloyd is a legend. Lloyd is a hero of mine. Lloyd Kaufman, thank you for joining us on the Film Threat podcast. Lloyd, how's it going?
Thank you, Chris Gore. We've known each other for many, 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 many years, and you have not changed at all since the time you were the special guest moderator for one of the very early Troma Dance film festivals.
That's right. Yeah, we've known each other since. I mean, I know your work from the 80s because I used to work at a video store, and the Toxic Avenger, late at night, we could put on the Troma films. If it was after 10 o'clock, like we can put on some Troma movies. But so I've known of your work, and then just meeting you, I think in the 90s is when we first met. And then I met and hung out with you at Cannes maybe 20 years ago. And just like you have a business philosophy that, and you put out movies that have endured. How have you endured and survived? I mean, I was saying earlier that Troma, I think, is the longest existing independent film company like ever, lasted longer than Miramax and all these other companies. What do you attribute your longevity to?
Well, for one, I follow and listen and watch Film Threat, because that's the most entertaining and informative media.
Oh,
Then may I suggest that the Troma fans are unbelievable. They're the special sauce. There's no way we'd be here, Chris, without the wonderful fans. Again, they on hashtag Shakespeare's Shitstorm, they acted in the film, they shot the film, they even put money into the film knowing they're going to lose. They have been booking the movie in theaters, museums, all that kind of stuff. It's really the fans. I just came back from six cities, Texas and Oklahoma City, and it was fans drove me around. Two fans, William Akers and Matt McNew, plus Little Spark Films, Catalina. Carita, and they provided a Toxie and a Crazy Sarah, and we must have driven 2,000 miles around Texas, but all fans. I tried to get them to pay. I tried to pay their gas. I tried to pay their motels. They did everything themselves. And how lucky are we? I mean, that's the real answer. And the internet helped. The internet doesn't hurt.
Well, you're getting so much love in the chat here. Let me read some of these comments here.
Oh, thank you.
Patrick Lemire says, my friends and I watched so many Troma films to get through the pandemic. Thank you, Lloyd. And I'd like to remind everybody that Troma has a streaming service. Cancel your Netflix, cancel your Disney Plus, subscribe to Troma Now. Troma Now is a streaming service from Troma, and it's a bargain for all the movies that you get.
Well, thank you.
I want to just throw in that plug for you, Lloyd.
No, appreciate it. Actually, Troma Now is the future, but now. And every month, 6 new movies by the James Gunns and Chris Gores of the future get put on the service. Plus, you get 50 years of our movies and acquisitions and Uncle Lloydie's movies. And even better, it's the first month is free, and then it's only $4.99 a month. And Netflix and the Mouse have raised their prices. We have not. We're still $4.99 a month. First month free, and you're right. It's a pretty damn good. My wife and I watch it every night. There are all sorts of movies, new ones that I've never seen, and they're terrific. John Ferry is the. If you want to submit something, john.ferri@troma.com is the curator, and he's doing a terrific job.
That's the thing. I know so many filmmakers, Lloyd, who've had their movies distributed by you, gotten released, you put them out into the world, and you've just been such a big supporter, and you're getting so much love. I have to read some of these. Starlaw says Kaufman rocks. Internet Rec Room says I got tickets to Shakespeare Shitstorm. Yay! That's so great. Internet Rec Room, we love you, Mr. K. So and then also that's the coolest office I've ever seen, says Rod DCM 20. Yeah, look, you've got all the memorabilia up. That's awesome.
Hold on. Wait a minute. I'll give you while we're talking. Let me show you around.
Oh, that's great. Is this the Troma offices?
Yeah. Here's Michael Hers is not in on Friday. That's his big golf day. And also we're making a movie. So some of our people have been engaged to be in the movie by Brandon Bassam, who wrote #Shakespeare Shitstorm.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
We have a huge graphic department, 35 people. Here it is. She does the work of about 80 people, and John is the cure. There's John Ferry somewhere. Where did he go? Here he is. Say hello to Chris.
Hey, there you go. Hey, John. Good to see you.
John's the curator of the amazing Troma Now.
Yeah.
And here's a guy. I don't know who this guy is, but he's here named Rocco. Where did you go? There he is, and he's about to work for ABC. And here's Kyle. Kyle, who's is in charge of all the technical and also supervising editor. And we can go downstairs too later on if you wish. If you want to see,
that's so great. Like all the memorabilia, Sergeant Kabuki.
Oh, watching these. Oh, we should go down and surprise her.
Okay, yeah,
we'll go down.
I'm going to read some of these comments as we're going. People are going nuts. Micah Henry, USA Up All Night with Rhonda was my doorway to Toxic Avenger. And Solomon Thornton, my friends got me into Troma films. Thank you again for the wicked entertainment. The Chicago Box, good people still exist. Piers Bronson, welcome, Mr. Kaufman. Cooper says, as a kid, the Troma VHS covers always intrigued me. There you go. Gabriel says Netflix could definitely use some competition. Where's Terrier? Netflix is shit. So I would agree. So there we go. See that stuff? Love the artwork. There you go. The film philosopher, seeing where history is made. How's the bathroom though? That's the real question, says Gabriel.
Yeah, it's always occupied. Just here's we're in the bowels of the Troma building right now. There's a lot of great collectibles, and I'm walking through.
That looks like part of a set, Lloyd. Is that part of a set?
Well, actually, you're close, Chris. Hey, Raheen, are you here? Yeah. Raheen, where'd you go? You see here stuff.
Oh my God!
Stuff here, and then we have we have Troma Direct TV, and here's some of the wonderful TromaDirect.com. Sorry, TromaDirect.com. If you want to buy Troma merchandise, T-shirts, whatever you need.
Well, you're always selling. The film philosopher sent in a $4.99 super chat, very generous, and he says, "Lloyd,
there you are. Say hello. This is Raheen.
Nice to meet you.
Raheen, good to meet you. Awesome. Oh, we froze.
Oh,
no. He'll be back.
So I'm probably it's sketchy. The internet. It's not so. You look great. Could you know how to turn that light on in there? Well, I want to show you the amazing studio.
Oh, let's check out.
Oh,
Okay, Lloyd, there's the film philosopher wants to thank you. Says Lloyd, thank you. I grew up watching Toxic Avenger and listening to punk music. Thank you, the film philosopher, for your super chat. I'm gonna make sure Lloyd hears that though.
I think the internet is
unfortunately the internet down here is a little what do you call it? Shaky.
Sketchy.
But right now, Brandon Bassam is directing this new movie, Bring on the Dead, and it's kind of a satire of. Thank you, Rahim. Sort of a satire of Saturday Night Fever, and about half of has been drafted to be dancers, Brooklyn dancers from 1970 something. And I worked on Saturday Night Fever and Rocky.
There's a great Lloyd. You wrote a book, Make Your Own Damn Movie, where you talk about the beginning. Well, I'll wait till the internet gets better. But boy, I just appreciate all the love for Lloyd in the chat. He's an inspiration for independent filmmakers. And Lloyd, can you hear us?
I hear you very well. I see you. I hear you.
Okay.
And I'm going to take you into the bathroom. This is the executive. This is Michael Herz's executive bathroom. So pretty nice. So we have a little kitchen here. We have these delicious candies. And today is Free Lunch Friday. We serve a traumatic free lunch for the Tromites.
Well, that's great.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I want to make sure you get this when you're back at your office here, Lloyd. I want to make sure you get this super chat from the film philosopher. Says, Lloyd, thank you with 3 exclamation points. He says, I grew up watching Toxic Avenger and listening to punk music. That's great. And then, and also want to ask you, this is Guy DeBoard says, and I remember when this happened. I see on the wiki article, the Troma channel was terminated from YouTube for violating community guidelines. I'm definitely sold on Troma now. What happened with that? What happened with YouTube, like canceling your channel? What could you possibly have done?
I don't know. It's it's funny because the majors have you go on Netflix and watch Sally Forever. Very good, very terrific series, but people vomit on each other. This beautiful woman shits on a man's face, and it's all there. It's nothing implied. There's no subtlety. By the way, this was given to me by Gloria Swanson whilst I was working for John Avildsen in the old days.
Oh, wow.
Pretty cool, huh?
Well, you've got to read your book. I recommend to everybody in the chat, everyone watching this, read Lloyd's book, Make Your Own Damn Movie. It's an inspiration. What a great book, But do you have any idea why your YouTube channel was canceled?
I think it's the algorithm. I think the algorithm lets the majors do anything they want, and the whole idea is get rid of the independents. So actually, Michael Herz, 2 days later, by the way, the fans made such a big stink. YouTube put the channel right back on in 48 hours. So they knew they had done something wrong. Somehow they must have gotten, I think our fans, they piled on. They also stopped a lot of nasty lies about me and they by third-rate podcast, whatever they are, trying to make their bones by tearing down a sad old man. Anyway, the fans destroyed them.
Oh God, yeah, no.
Went back into the.
Yeah. I mean, Lloyd.
See how real I am, Chris. I still blow my nose. I discovered Oliver Stone. He never blew his nose in public. James Gunn did, however. I have to say.
There you go. Now, can we? I think you may have leaked this to me. So I think because on a podcast we can talk about you. I mean, you basically helped a lot of filmmakers. I mean, James Gunn probably being the most famous. You're going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Is that right?
Yes.
When have you started shooting? Did you shoot your cameo yet?
Not yet, but it's coming up very, very soon. Nice. It's conveniently going down to Atlanta a day or two before the New York City premiere of #Shakespeare's Shitstorm at the Museum of Moving Image, as well as some theaters like the Cinema Village and Film Noir. So buy your tickets. It's The Tempest. through the eyes of Lloyd Kaufman. Shakespeare.
Now, James Gunn doesn't send you the whole script, right, for Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
I mean, the whole script. I eat with the extra. I'm basically, with the extras. I don't go to the fancy, I'm in there in the trenches. But he always makes a speech to the whole gang where he says, "This is Lloyd Kaufman. He gave me my first job, and thanks to him, I'm doing great." And so the stars. And then I go back to the holding pen for the extras. So he's great. John Senham, I had a great time with him on Suicide Squad. I heard he speaks Chinese, so I tapped him on the shoulder and addressed him in Mandarin. And boy, he knows. He's got more. I don't remember as much as he can speak. It's been 50 years since I graduated from college, where Chinese studies was my major. And also, John keeps a piano in his dressing room. He's teaching himself both Chinese and piano playing. He's amazing. And that Peacemaker series is fabulous. I'm gonna make peace in the world if I have to kill everyone. That's so James Gunn. That is so James Gunn. It's just wonderful.
I want to ask. We have a lot of questions in the chat. I'll get to the chat shortly, and a lot of love for you. But I want to ask, the Toxic Avenger is now being remade as a big budget movie starring Peter Dinklage with through Legendary Pictures. What's it like to now see your fabled film franchise? My personal favorite. I love the first Toxic Avenger, but Citizen Toxie I really love. I think so there have been so many Toxic Avenger films, now a big budget version. How do you feel about that? And can a movie that is a fun, doesn't take itself too seriously, exploitation superhero movie, can it translate to a big budget film? What are your thoughts about that experience?
Well, I think that Michael Hers and I have been very fortunate. They're not the first group. Legendary is not the first to option the Toxic Avenger, but thank heavens they have shot the film, and they've got a director, Macon Blair, who knows Troma better than I do. I mean, he loves Troma. He's seen Terra Firma, Combat Shock. Citizen Toxie is my favorite Toxie too, by the way. And although the musical Toxie, which played in Broadway and and in London, is delightful. You can take your grandmother to see it, as well as the people with the bones in their noses. It appeals to everybody. Wonderful. Music by Bon Jovi's David Bryan. Pretty cool. Anyway, Toxie's been in the cartoons. He's been in comic books. He's in children's pajamas. I mean, he's all over the place.
And toys.
Cartoons are very good, too. They're on Troma now. They're cartoons from 1989. They're excellent, very funny, and same animation people as the Turtles, and very well written, really good writing.
There was a Toxic Avenger toy line, I remember, in the 80s. And correct me if I'm wrong, is the Toxic Avenger children's cartoon the first children's cartoon based on an R-rated movie? Is that a fact?
It's certainly the first children's cartoon for 5-year-olds based on a movie in which a young boy has his head crushed by the wheel of an automobile. I think it's the first one. Yes. How that happened, just, this is the good thing. Every once in a while you hit the roulette wheel, but we don't make movies to make money, and we certainly don't make money. But every once in a while, we hit the roulette wheel. And maybe with Legendary, Macon Blair is terrific. He wrote, you've seen Murder Party and Green Room and Blue, whatever it is. And he made one terrific film. He's directed one film called I Don't Feel Safe in This World Anymore. And it's very, very good. It might have won Sundance. I'm not sure. Not that I hate Sundance, but
that's why
he's great. He'll be up there with James Gunn and Eli Roth and Trent Haga and Film Threat and all the greats.
Well, that's why you created Troma Dance. Troma Dance is a film festival that has no submission fee. You send your movie to Troma, and you pick a bunch of films, and you screen them in Park City, Utah during Sundance. Oh, and people are correcting me here. So, RoboCop. There was a RoboCop cartoon. So thank you, VR. RoboCop cartoon, and Rambo had a cartoon, says the Chicago Box. Wow, man. Yeah. So okay, cool. Well, you're in good company with them. That's great. So yeah.
Well, when RoboCop opened in theaters, the critics said whoever made this movie must have seen the Toxic Avenger. We have a big footprint, no question about it. The Deadpool guys love Troma. They talk about Troma. Now they got the Brechtian breaking the fourth wall from, I like Brecht a lot and Thornton Wilder, and they credit old Uncle Lloydie with a lot of this stuff that in the 70s was frowned upon.
Yeah.
But,
someone also said Conan cartoon, Patrick Lemire. The film philosopher has a question for you, Lloyd. What do you hate about Sundance? Is it too corporate? I would say I agree. It's too corporate.
Well, it's not a festival. We did. Trey Parker really created Troma Dance with when we all went there with his first movie, Cannibal the Musical. He and Matt Stone, and we rented. They rented. Matt and Trey rented a big condo, and we all slept on the floor. And the people at Sundance were so rude and snotty, and especially to Trey and Matt and the Troma team. So Trey had the idea: rent a bar or a room and have a one movie festival, Cannibal the Musical Festival, and make it free. And there were lines around the block, and Redford and company were pissed off. So the next year we did start Troma Dance, 1999, I think. And we did it there for 10 years. And finally we got policed out. It's not a festival, really. And then so we moved it to New York. No, we moved it to Asbury Park, New Jersey. And then we moved it to New York for 2 or 3 years. And now we have this, due to COVID, we have a great venue up in the Poconos called the Mahoning Drive-In. It's one of the few that still play 35 millimeter and they preserve prints, and they have a wonderful, in July, Troma Dance will be a 3-day event with mainly Troma Dance, but also some of the Troma classics.
I love that. Well, I agree with you. Sundance has become way too corporate and way too agenda driven. And all I describe Sundance as like a wrestling match where you already know who's going to win when the match is over. It's like, this movie sold at Sundance. Well, that was predetermined before you even went to Sundance. Yeah. They just hold they hold the information. A question here for you: what films inspired you to become a filmmaker? Asks Solomon Thornton. So what films inspired you?
Well, if you want to know more detail, read my first book. All I Need to Know About Filmmaking, I learned from the Toxic Avenger. My first book was written by James Gunn. The first book that I wrote was written by James Gunn. But it's very funny, and I talk a lot about the people who inspired me, mainly the auteur directors, because I was freshman year at Yale University. I was stuck in a little tiny bedroom with a movie nut who ran the Yale Film Society, Robert Edelstein. And he and his cronies, the Film Society, had a big stack of French magazines, Cahiers du Cinéma. And in those magazines, the auteur theory was being propounded. This is 1965. And it was the journalists were Chabrol and Jean-Luc Godard and Truffaut, and they were transitioning. Not to be women, but to be go from journalism to filmmaking. And so I bought into this auteur theory in which it's all about the director. Movies are the director's event, and the director should be all powerful. The movie should reflect their, see, I'm using the incorrect pronoun, their, not his or her, but their soul, brain, and heart. And I bought into that, and eventually I had... so the people that inspire me are Mizoguchi, John Ford, Howard Hawks, Chaplin, Keaton, Stan Brakhage, the greatest visual artist of my lifetime, Fritz Lang, these Sam Fuller, people of that ilk. Again, I'm 76, so the Roger Corman, I saw his movies as a kid and as a college student, and it proved that one could make very provocative movies with good casts and good directors for not too much money. And Roger and I have been buddies for 50 years. In fact, Stan Lee and I searched him out back in just after I got out of Yale, and we wrote a script. I wrote a script based on his idea. It got optioned a few times, but we were very good friends. And Stan Lee, Lemmy, They were John G. Avildsen. They all were in our movies and so were great to us. And unfortunately, they're dead. Hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm is dedicated to my stepmother, Sigrun, to John Avildsen, and to Stan Lee. Return to Nukem High was Lemmy's last movie, and we dedicated that movie to him. Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead.
More comments here. Patrick Lemire says, I love that the roots of Troma is French New Wave. That inspired me in college as well. French New Wave was like, oh, these journalists that went on to make movies, and they did a magazine that was very anti-establishment. So that's great. So many great comments.
The magazine still exists, and I read it. I speak French and read French. Yeah. So this stack of magazines nobody was touching, so I just kept reading them and looking at the pictures. And in those days, they had boobies, which they didn't have in the Yale Daily News.
There you go. Even better. Shelby AC asked, did you go to the Yankee Diner at Yale? I loved that.
Yes. It was the Yankee Doodle. And they put a piece of butter on the hamburger. I'm vegetarian now, but it was a very small place with, I think, 4 stools. I mean seats, not turds. And delicious buttery hamburgers. And there was always somebody was always waiting to get a little chair or take out. It's gone now, I think, Yankee Doodle.
And
used to have the White Castle that stayed open all night in New Haven.
Love White Castle. Love White Castle.
Yeah, me too. They actually helped us in when we made Stuck on You, which is on Troma. All our movies are on Troma now. That's the best comedy, I think. But White Castle provided a meal a day and then we have a very funny joke in Stuck on You with White Castle, visual kind of a wordplay kind of thing.
Question here, Lloyd. Do you know if you'll be attending Dragon Con in Atlanta this year? Says Anarchy 83.
No, Dragon Con. I supported Troma supported Dragon Con for basically since it started, and recently we went there and they really insulted us. They put our booth after all these years. They put our booth in between a woman selling flasks to drink and somebody else selling cell phone covers. And we have a line. Whenever I go to these conventions, there's always a line of autograph and people who are going to buy our merchandise. We have a huge variety. If you don't want to go to a convention, you go to tromadirect.com, where it's cheaper than buying at a convention, tromadirect.com. But at any rate, they really, so we had a big line, and then a security guy came. He's clearly showing me his gun. And he's saying, these people are complaining your line is interfering with the selling of cell phone covers. So they pushed our line about a mile away, and we had to send people down there to text back and forth, and we lost a lot of money, and they really fucked us. So never again will I set foot. I don't even want to go to Georgia with the voting record, but I'm very honored that James Gunn is giving me a little bit of love in the third Guardians. So very, very grateful for that.
Lloyd, can you read the screen right now? There's a question in French.
Oui. Je pense que vos conférences lors de l'étude de cinéma. I think many grades says, I think many would like to see you in the conventions outside of their movie studies.
That's great.
Yes, I'm so charming. I mean, the Cinémathèque Française has done several seasons of Troma. I'm sure they're going to screen the hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm. Museum of Moving Images is premiering it on April 8th. At the Museum of Moving Image, as well as Cinema Village and Film Noir and Nighthawk in New York City. So we may have some luck, who knows.
And the film philosopher, who I'm going to see in Anaheim later today, because we're going to WonderCon, asks, what do you think is the number one thing deterring independent filmmaking today?
Well, the number one thing is the fact that the industry is a cartel. It's fixed, like you said. And unless you know how to negotiate the corridors of power, it's very hard to get in with the big guys. Eli Roth is a people person. He's very talented. He's a people person. He knows how to talk to them. James Gunn too, very, very talented, the greatest guy in the world, and he knows how to do it. But most of the mainstream are scumbags, and that has a lot to do with why a lot of us don't particularly care what's coming out of Hollywood's asshole. So I think that's the biggest detriment to brilliant young filmmakers who and the proof of it is that you have these shows like the late night shows where they're constantly showing clips by people out in the YouTube, brilliant people on the YouTube who ought to be directing movies. People a lot more talented and younger than I, but I don't know if they'll be able to make it. So they may have to use the Troma system of making your own damn movies and trying to distribute yourself, which I think is definitely a possibility. I think you can do it now. There are so many venues that we just had 400 people in a brewery in Cincinnati, Ohio. 400 people, $25 a piece for a weekend. And brewery, the theater, Regal, AMC, whatever, they're bankrupt. All they do is show. You know what they show, and I don't think they're doing too well. Our fans eat a lot, they drink a lot, and they're perfect. That's so. There are all these other venues. Austin, we have a venue with a couple of hundred people that can play for a week. That kind of stuff. There are ways to get around the theatrical. In fact, you don't even need theatrical. But the movies that I make are stuck in the past, and they have thousands of people, and they're made to be viewed in a community environment. It's a lot more fun to see a Troma movie with a crowd than by yourself.
Are you optimistic about the future of independent film?
Excuse me? The future?
Are you optimistic?
Yeah, I'm optimistic because I think that there's so much talent out there that they won't need the cartel. This is like Russia a little bit. You get ignored. In Russia, they take your passport away. In this country, the major media ignores you in favor of the companies and art that is either very woke or that pays a lot for advertising. So we can't do either. We're definitely not woke, and we definitely don't have enough money to advertise so that the New York Times might note that this is my 50th year making movies and 7 books. We own a building. We've made the Toxic Avenger and other movies that are considered classics, and apparently not good enough. Not good. Yeah. Not good enough. We've had all those things you talked about. New York mainstream media, they don't. We don't exist. Pretty interesting. Whereas we went to Texas, Oklahoma, Ohio, standing room only. Somehow they get it. The critics. Daily, what is it? The Dallas Daily Morning Daily Dallas Morning Daily did a big piece. So the mainstream in LA is even worse. This fucking LA the LA throwaway magazine,
LA Times. Yeah, it's terrible now. It's
very bad. Sure, they're horrible.
No journalism at all.
Throwaway magazine, the throwaway one, the LA Weekly. I think
LA Weekly's worthless too. I remember in the 90s, the LA Weekly used to do investigative reports. It was actually something substantive. Yes. Now it is worthless. It's absolutely worthless. Same thing with the LA Times. Like they are not, they don't serve the consumers. They serve whatever the mainstream narrative is.
Correct.
That's all they're about now, which sucks. And I know you've always been very anti-establishment, Lloyd, but Film Philosopher asks a question. How many times has Jeff Bezos tried to buy Troma? It's kind of a joke question, but a serious thing for a minute. Like if someone came to you and said, look, I want to buy Troma and I want to make it part of Warner Brothers, or I want to make it part of AT&T, would you sell Troma to a large corporation?
Well, hey, Sam Arkoff, who was the chairman of American International Pictures, a kind of Troma of the past, except much more successful. It birthed Roger Corman and all the famous people that Roger Corman birthed. But Sam Arkoff told me, and we were very close. I think he's in my book, and I'm in his book. And he wrote a good one. He said that his biggest regret was selling AIP to Viacom. It wasn't called Viacom in those days. Marty Ranzerhoff, whatever his company was, Filmways or something. I can't remember, but he said he really, really, really regretted it. And what are you going to do? So I would have to take a lot of money, I think. I don't think Michael Hers would consider selling Troma unless it was a huge, huge amount. We've sort of made it to 50 years, so it's sort of interesting to see what might happen. I could croak right now. Right?
Well, at least we'd record it. At least
both over 70.
Yeah.
But I think the company has a life of its own, thanks to Toxie and about 12 movies. So I think something will happen. Some young people will come in and maybe keep it going and adapt. We're trying to create a Tromaverse now, a community not unlike the metaverse. And that's Michael Herz's main project now, and we're trying to scrape what money we have together to hire some people to slowly make that happen.
Well, you've always had like the Troma connected universe. Like all the Troma movies kind of happened in Tromaville, and that was before Marvel did it. This was way back in the day. So, and I just so admire and appreciate like 50 plus years. And I've been doing Film Threat for 37 years now. So
that's terrific. Oh,
yeah. I mean, it's like, look, we're still here doing the same thing. And I feel like the people are just saying like they can't believe how much energy you have. Like in the chat, they're all just complimenting you and laughing at your comments and just saying, like I feel like when you have a purpose, and Troma's not just about the movies, it's a purpose, it's a mission, it's something bigger than all of it. It's an attitude, it's a community of people coming together to celebrate. So Lloyd, unfortunately we have to wrap it up because Alan and I have to drive to this convention, can you come back? Can you come back and wait? You've got an upcoming event. Aren't you doing an event that's coming up soon, right? Like plug the event. Shakespeare.
April 8th. If you're in New York, buy tickets to see hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm. It only plays one night at the Museum of Moving Image, but it plays a week at Cinema Village, which is considered the finest art house in New York, and also Film Noir in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. And then I think it's moving to the Nighthawk Cinema somewhere in New York. So come see it. We got a lot going on. We have panels, the actors, make your own damn movie people. Toxie will be there, Troma celebrities. I just regret that most of my 50-year friends are up there in that great screening room in the sky. So I wish Stan Lee could have seen this one.
Yeah, Stan Lee, I was fortunate enough to interview him a couple times, and he's just a legend. And what I feel lucky about with doing Film Thread is I've gotten to meet my heroes. So thank you, Lloyd, for spending time with us.
Well, thank you. You're a hero, Chris. Come on.
Whatever. I don't.
All together. I remember we had a good time at Comic-Con one year up on a roof, and
that's right. You came to the G4 booth.
Yes,
was it G4 booth, or were at a party? Maybe both.
Yes, big party, big time party.
Yeah,
right. I met your wife, lovely, and we had a great time. Great time with the Troma team at Comic-Con. We'll be at Comic-Con this year.
I'll see you there. I'll see you in July. At Comic-Con. Lloyd, thank you so much for being here. Please come back to the Film Threat podcast. I will talk to your
anytime.
Arrange.
You got my digits. Thank you, Al.
Great. All right. Take care.
Hi, Chris.
We love you.
All right. Happy April Fools. Rabbit. 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 Bye.
Bye. All right. Oh my God, that was so great. First of all, I couldn't keep up with the comments in the chat, so apologize.
Yeah,
we need to get a moderator. So if anyone would like to help us with moderation for our Film Threat YouTube channel, just go to filmthreat.com/contact. You can contact us there. Things are blowing up, and it's I'm really so happy that people are interested, that we're bringing on filmmakers that you can talk to. You can ask them questions. How much did it cost to make your movie? How long did it take? How do you get distribution? I want to open this community up to actually directly talk to filmmakers who have their movies out. And the Yellow Wallpaper, it was great having Kevin and Lexi on from that film. And I think anyone that sees it is going to be, first of all, haunted. It's really haunting. And if you're a fan of Troma, hey, Troma Now, first month is free and $4.99. How could you not?
Yeah, $50 a year. $50 a year.
$50 a year. So an amazing deal. So check that out. I want to say
they have the father of modern independent filmmaking.
Really, like Lloyd is a legend, and I so I was so happy to have him on. It was just too short. We would have gone longer, but unfortunately, Alan and I have to get to WonderCon. I have a panel in 6 hours, so I got to get there. I got to get.
My drive's a lot shorter than yours.
I gotta download the footage. We're gonna show about 20 minutes of footage from Attack of the Dock. So if you're there, please come to the panel. I put information on the on my personal Twitter at that Chris Gore. Let's wrap it up, Alan. We are Film Threat on everything. So Film Threat on everything, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, however you social media, just we're Film Threat. So look, we're even Film Threat on TikTok, which I don't post very often.
I know. If I had time, we have lots of stuff we can put on TikTok.
Micah Henry, the panel is on a documentary that I've been working on in the last couple of years called Attack of the Dock. It's a documentary about the behind the scenes of Attack of the Show. And there are going to be a lot of shocking revelations. I will submit myself to a Q&A there. A lot of people ask me questions about Attack of the Show and G4, and well, come to the panel at 5 p.m. Thank you so much again. We are going to be expanding our live streaming efforts, and we appreciate it. We want to bring you not just our conversation, because it's a conversation with you, but also indie filmmakers that you have access to and can ask them questions, because anyone sitting here in the chat that is thinking about, well, I'd like to make a movie someday, right? Maybe you want to write it. Maybe you want to produce it. Maybe you want to direct it. Maybe you want to just like be a part of a big production. So thank you. So this channel needs your support. Absolutely. Blah, blah. Thank you for saying so. And on that note, share this. If everyone who watches this video just goes out and gets a friend to subscribe.
Oh, wow.
We'll go up by thousands of subscribers, and we so much appreciate your support. I hope to see you in Anaheim. The panel's at 5. Around 7 p.m., we're going to be going out to the hotel bar. So right outside the Anaheim Convention Center is the Marriott, and then there's the Hilton. We're going to go back and forth to the bars. Look for myself or Alan. I'm going to have some giveaways to people. Just come up to me and say, hey, I'm so-and-so, or I heard about it, however you heard about it. And I'm just like super ecstatic. I got to take us out. I got to take us out at some point here. I'm trying to come up with like a little format, like for, like sort of our like outgoing music, like the show is ending music. So here's kind of our show is ending music. All right. So we thank you for that. I don't know. I'll see you in Anaheim. I'll see you next week. Next week, we're going to have the Northmen. We're going to be talking Sonic 2, and we're going to have more indie filmmakers on. I don't remember who they are, but they're going to be a surprise. They're going to be a surprise. What, Alan?
This
all right,
music. Oh my God,
the last thing that we say when we're getting, what do we do?
Let's get out of here.